Myanmar earthquake kills over 1,600. More than 1,600 people have been killed in a powerful earthquake in Myanmar, with residents in some areas still digging through rubble with their bare hands. The earthquake turned Mandalay, the country's second largest city, home to about 1.5 million people, into a plain. A severe shortage of equipment, disrupted communications, and damaged roads and bridges have hampered the search. Myanmar's military government, which took power in 2021, has lost control of most of the country due to a 4-year civil war with rebel groups and anti-coup protests. Rescue efforts have been underway since Friday and international aid has been pouring into the country, but aid has yet to reach the worst-hit areas, forcing people to use their hands to pull out survivors. Widely shared videos show 2 men trying to pull out a woman trapped under concrete. Emerging reports show people screaming for help from under the rubble. Rescue workers pulled one woman alive from the rubble of a 12-story apartment building in Mandalay after 30 hours, but the Red Cross said more than 90 people may still be trapped. In a nearby town, authorities found the bodies of 12 preschoolers and a teacher under the rubble of a kindergarten. The damage to the main road between Yangon, Nay Pi Tav and Mandalay has caused major transport disruptions, the UN humanitarian agency OCHA said. It also said there was a shortage of medical supplies, including essential medicines and health workers. On the other hand, rescue workers continue to search for survivors, hoping that they will survive. "We can only save people if we hear their voices," one of them said. On Saturday, rescue teams in Sint Kai Township, Mandalay's Kai Orks district, pulled out several people from the rubble of a private school. 6 of them were dead when rescue teams arrived. The victims included students, teachers, and school staff. A rescue worker said the lack of equipment had severely hampered the rescue effort. "We are working with the equipment we have. We worked for hours to pull out a child from the collapsed school." Another rescue worker in Mandalay told the BBC in Yangon that communication lines have been cut off. "The main thing is that we don't have internet or phone lines, so it's very difficult to communicate with each other. A rescue team has arrived. But we don't know where it's going because the phone lines are down," he said. A Mandalay resident said people are doing their best despite the chaos. "There is no coordination in the rescue effort. No one is leading them or telling them what to do. Local residents had to come together. They don't even know where to send bodies if they find them in the rubble. Hospitals are overwhelmed with the number of injured," residents said. The junta has put the number of damaged buildings in Mandalay region, the epicenter of the quake, at more than 1,500. Power outages have worsened the situation. Officials say it could take days to restore power. Mandalay Airport is closed because its runways were damaged in the earthquake. The military council said it was working to reopen the airport and that a temporary hospital, medical aid camp and shelters had been set up. The 2 old bridges connecting the Sagring region, 25 kilometers from Mandalay, collapsed completely, and the new bridge cracked, hindering access for rescue teams. Right now, there are not enough people even for rescue work. "We have not been able to retrieve any bodies. Too many people are under the rubble. We are all trapped in the rubble because we cannot cross both bridges. Please, emergency workers come and save us," said a local resident. The newly established capital and headquarters of the military junta, Nay Pi Tav, was hit by aftershocks and minor tremors. The city suffered extensive damage, with a large number of people killed and many buildings destroyed, and roads blocked. Putin proposes temporary UN administration for Ukraine. Russian President Vladimir Putin has proposed a temporary UN administration for Ukraine until it can elect a capable government. The Russian president, who has repeatedly called for a change in the Ukrainian government he installed in Kiev, has been widely criticized for his handling of the crisis. Ukraine has called Putin's idea crazy and says it is a strategy to delay a peace deal brokered by US President Donald Trump. The White House, for its part, has stressed that Ukraine's governance is determined by its constitution and its people. Putin's comments come as the United States is leading the push for a ceasefire to end the 4-year-old war in Ukraine. The White House has confirmed that Russia and Ukraine have signed a ceasefire agreement to end their fighting in the Black Sea. The countries agreed to a ceasefire in Saudi Arabia, in a deal brokered by the United States. But Russia has set conditions, insisting that the Black Sea ceasefire will only come into effect once Western sanctions are lifted. This has raised concerns that Russia is trying to sabotage the ceasefire. Speaking to the crew of a submarine in the northern Russian city of Murmansk, Putin said that the United States, European countries, our allies and friends will discuss a transitional administration under the auspices of the United Nations. This will be done to hold democratic elections, bring to power a competent government that has the trust of the people, and negotiate a peace agreement and sign legal documents. Russia has declared President Volodymyr Zelensky an illegitimate government because his term in office has expired, and says he has no legal basis to participate in peace talks. President Zelensky, for his part, says the election was legally postponed under martial law because his country is at war. With more than 5 million Ukrainians displaced abroad by the war, and hundreds of thousands of citizens still fighting on the front lines, holding an election is virtually impossible. Putin has been making the election his agenda, suggesting that Zelensky has no legal basis to participate in peace talks. The White House has also echoed this sentiment in the past. It is said that if Putin succeeds in forcing an election, he will be able to distract Ukraine on the military front and orchestrate a victory. Israel, Hamas agree to new ceasefire negotiations. Hamas has accepted a proposal for a ceasefire in Gaza made 2 days ago by Egypt and Qatar, the group's top leader said. The Palestinian militant group Hamas has said it supports a proposal by negotiators to extend the ceasefire in Gaza in exchange for the release of 5 Israeli hostages and a 50-day ceasefire. A senior Hamas leader outside Gaza, Khalil al-Hayam, said the group had approved a draft proposal presented by negotiators from Egypt and Qatar. Reuters, citing security sources, reported that Egypt has received a positive response from Israel regarding the new ceasefire agreement. Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu's office said it had accepted the plan and had submitted an alternative proposal to the mediators in full cooperation with the United States. If the two sides agree, the new ceasefire could coincide with the Muslim holiday of Eid al-Fitr, which begins on Sunday. On Saturday, Netanyahu's office said talks had been held with the negotiators on a ceasefire proposal. While Israel's alternative proposal was reportedly agreed with the United States, it was not clear what the proposals included. The United States has not commented publicly on the matter. The ceasefire, which came into effect on January 19, expired earlier this month, with Israeli forces launching a ground offensive in Rafah and continuing airstrikes in the Gaza Strip. The two sides have been unable to reach a second round of talks since the first ceasefire ended. Hamas released 33 hostages during the first phase of the ceasefire. The Iranian-backed group still holds 59 Israelis, not all of whom are believed to be alive. Hamas had previously demanded that the second phase of negotiations continue, based on the initial proposal, and that the remaining hostages be released, the Israeli military withdraw completely from Gaza, and an end to the fighting. But those negotiations failed to materialize. Israel and the United States have instead proposed an extension of the first phase of the ceasefire, which ended a month ago, but there has been no clear guarantee that the fighting will end. Israel has been continuing its airstrikes on Gaza since March 18, accusing Hamas of refusing to accept the ceasefire extension. Since then, the Hamas-run health ministry has reported that more than 900 people have died in Israeli airstrikes. Meanwhile, families of the remaining hostages have accused Netanyahu of endangering the lives of the hostages by violating the ceasefire. Hamas released a video showing one of the hostages, Elkanah Bobot, pleading for his release. The war between Israel and Hamas began on October 7, 2023, after Hamas launched an attack on southern Israel, killing about 1,200 people and taking 251 hostages to Gaza. The Hamas-led health ministry announced that more than 50,000 Palestinians have been killed in Israel's military campaign.